The first question was about the expansive truth-seeking orb databook scan. Someone was asking me about the translation and whether the legitimacy of the translation allows me to deduce that Kaguya is universal. This is my answer to that. So, despite the contentious translation of the Japanese language of the original databook scan, even if the actual translation included the word universe, that would simply be a hyperbolic statement, as Kaguya's performance against Team 7 clearly shows she is not universal, being damaged by individuals such as Demas, Kakashi, and Sakura. And unless you presuppose that those two are universal, Kaguya is not universal as a result. So at best, you could scale her around solar system level if you conclude the dimension she was about to absorb is solar system, which is very plausible because you can see several visible celestial bodies in the dimension. You see a couple planets and what appears to be like a moon. So a universal classification is very unlikely.
No, it's not the case. Yeah,
and there's just essentially nothing empirically to substantiate it. You could wank the dimension that she's in and say that it's a universe, but there's no way to substantiate that at all. So the databooks, to further add to the fact that it's contentious, the databooks themselves are certainly filled with hyperbolic statements in various instances, such as Tamari's wind blowing away the universe.
It's also a universal level, Tamari.
So because of that, that allows us to have to question each statement's literality, resulting in us having to scavenge the narrative for empirical feats to determine whether a statement in the databook is hyperbolic or hyperliteral. So, in short, Kaguya is not universal, more than likely. Is there some sort of arbitrary level of argument for it? Yes, but I think it's very, very unlikely that she's universal. So,
like the best way to think about it, there's a difference between Kishimoto blatantly emphasizing it's hyperbolic. I mean, because even when you look at the data books, it can be either more in black bolds or the whole figurative message it's trying to convey. It's blatantly obvious. Yeah. There's a difference between Kishimoto doing that or literally giving a description of what actually is going on, or or basically what is literally happening, right? He'll make it blatantly obvious if a character was universal level. It wouldn't even be something to think of. He would make that crystal clear to understand.
Yeah, I mean, he's very pro lore. So what he does a lot of the times in data books as well, he'll use very, very peculiar statements like, "Oh, pain is a god," or he'll say, the Sharingan can see all things in the universe. Those are lore establishing statements, and obviously it's not hyperliteral at all.
No,
we see Sharingan users.
Pain beats everybody if we take that literally.
We literally see Sasuke not being able to perceive people with a Sharingan. So if he could see everything in the universe, why would that be a problem? It's clearly not hyperliteral.
Literally,
it's clearly hyperbolic to establish lore, right? Because the Sharingan's really cool. That's the reason why he writes the way he writes. Pain is literally not a god. If not, he would have destroyed even Six-Tail Naruto without a problem. Clearly, he's not a god, literally. He is very powerful, which is why that hyperbolic statement is utilized to sort of illustrate that.
It's more of the aspect that he's just so strong. Yeah, that's what it's mainly supporting, that he's a really powerful, formidable threat, and that's why it's saying that as a hyperbolic whatever. It's not meaning literal, he's an actual omnipotent fucking god.
Yeah, exactly. It's clearly hyperbolic. Gods in that universe would never lose. It'd be like we in the Dragon Ball universe. Clearly
and then back to the Kaguya thing too. It's just like what Jay was saying. The whole she's getting beaten up by Kakashi out of Zippo, and they're blatantly not even universal level.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the whole solar system thing, what you guys also need to understand is her technique could potentially maybe be solar busting or whatever, things like that, but it doesn't mean that correlates to her entirely in its form of scaling too. And as for instance, let's say you have Goku as a character, right? Where his spirit bomb is fucking crazy strong, whatever, and can do all this crazy shit, right? But not his body can do that. So all because he can utilize a technique that can do all this shit doesn't mean he can do it or scale to that himself. Yeah, that's why he's doing the technique, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? So to sit here and say Kaguya is universal level or some shit, that's pretty crazy. I mean, there's nothing definitively or nothing enough even possibility wise to suggest that is the case.
Yeah, because universal classification is a premise you can create, but like I always say, every premise has an arbitrary level of reliability, and that one has one of the lower levels of reliability. Saying she's solar system, there's much more empirically to suggest that. It's not as a outlandish a premise as compared to saying she's universal, multiversal, whatever people say these days. That's not the case most likely. Dragon Ball, conversely shows planets being destroyed. It shows microcosms
Oh,
being
yeah.
shook. Like that's blatant
Definitively.
feats.
Yeah.
Yeah, the infinite void being shook by Jiren and
Or
MUI
not
Goku.
even
Like
that, like Beerus and Goku's half-assed God form, just from a
yeah,
punch that they're
shaking the
shattering
universe.
or shaking the universe. That's blatant, like scaling for a
Yeah, it doesn't
character,
get
and
it.
we're not seeing any of that
Yeah,
with Kaguya
now that's
or
hyper literal.
the.
That's a hyper literal feat, like in your face.
Yeah.
You know. So, what's going on, Legend? Damn, I haven't been here for a while. Thanks for
Oh,
coming in, though.
Jay Snowhawk asked on my end. He said, "What about the Momoshiki universal feats? Do you know what
All
he's
right.
referring to?"
Oh yeah, yeah. So first of all, the novels can be considered non-canonical because one of the writers of these novels stated that the one and only true story is the original comic. So that
Hmm,
alone puts the canonicity in question. I think they're not canon, to be honest. I think the
gotcha.
only canon pieces of literature are the anime, besides obviously excluding filler, and
Yeah,
obviously the manga itself. But I think I know what you're referencing. What it's If I'm not mistaken, what the novel reiterates is that he's creating dimensions. Dimensions are not created equally, meaning sizes are not equivalent. A dimension can be 7 times smaller than our universe, or conversely, it can be 7 times larger than our universe, which the Dragon Ball universe 6, actually is 7 times larger. So, not all universes are created equal. Hence, not all
that's
dimensions are created equal. So, that doesn't prove that he's universal at all. And again, I don't. The novels aren't canon either. So,
and
that's
not
my
only
point.
that, like
So,
just even in the movies, which are canon, the anime, which is also canon, and the manga, which is also canon. When he's presented and shown, there's no emphasis of that. There's nothing
yeah,
to indicate that he's some universal being or
not
something.
at all.
And even if like I get like maybe if you want to still argue like oh like his dimension shit or maybe his techniques that he does, certain things that he has that could be universal, whatever. I sure that that's maybe something you could try to do. But like once again, all because he hasn't, it's just like the whole spirit bomb thing. That doesn't mean it equates to him directly, because
Yeah.
clearly not. Like he doesn't have anything for just himself. But yet in base, he's so fucking trash. Motherfucker's getting dog washed by all these like he's getting having a hard time with the five Kage, fucking you name it. Like even they said, oh, we should have just brought a taijutsu specialist to beat his ass,
Exactly.
and that
Yeah.
means they were more likely thinking of Lee. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, but base Momo, there's no way. Like, you know what I mean, and then we eventually see Fuse Momo, which is him sacrificing his other dude or whatever, and that's where he's actually starting to become more of a threat and a problem. And even with all that, there's just still nothing that he has to kind of indicate that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like at most planetary for sure,
Yeah.
right? But
Oh, for
not
sure. Yeah,
fucking
for sure. Planetary. Yeah.
universal.
No, yeah. There's just not
So
enough of that. Someone asked, why is Demons Kakashi or Sasuke being universal as well an issue? That's like saying, why isn't classifying Saitama as universal an issue? It's an issue because there's nothing to imply that. There's no empirical
yeah,
pieces of evidence to suggest that. I could say Saitama's universal, but there's nothing to prove that currently. That's just pure speculation, which is not a very valid source of logic. It's not a
you're getting into
valid.
hypothetical territory right there, bro. Like,
Yeah. Also, Base Momoshiki has an expansive redshift in the anime, which is proof of a universe. Again, not all universes are created equal in size, so you can't prove that. You need energy comparable to the Big Bang. How would you measure that? That'd be interesting to try to substantiate that too. To create one which is universal, what do you think of this? Again, not all universes are created equal. Dimensions vary in size all the time.
yeah.
Even
I don't think
saying,
you guys understand that. Like, our
yeah,
universe is way different compared to basically like what is demonstrated in other fucking not animal animes or whatever, where they literally have certain different sizes of universes that are
yeah,
just small, large,
dimensions.
etc.
Yeah, dimensions are not created equally. That's like saying every dimension that's ever been established or created is equal in size. That's obviously not provable, and because it's not provable, you cannot consider that proposition to be a positive
What does
truth
that
value.
make Obito universal?
Yeah,
Because
like
he
he's
can do
commonly
dimensions
dimension.
and shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely
Like,
not.
well, because he can do dimensions doesn't make you fucking universal.
Yeah, not at
Like,
all. It's all speculative. You can speculate, but you can't prove it. So
and
that
you
would
like
be
basically what we're saying in a nutshell. Like, sure, you could speculate whatever this and that, yada yada, try to argue in the possibility things, whatever. But I'm telling you right now, with that type of stuff, you're gonna be sitting there for hours upon hours debating that with somebody.
yeah,
And I mean, like, it's just that's something you can never be able to prove definitively. And then when you analyze everything that we have in a nutshell, when it comes to feats, I mean, which is the most important thing, and further statements along with that, there's just nothing to indicate that that actually is the case and true. And like I said, with the whole spirit bomb thing, all
yeah,
because you have something doesn't mean that makes you the same. That's like
Yeah.
saying Goku is as powerful as his spirit bomb. That makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. Someone said the only person in Naruto verse as universal is Shibai. There's a very good chance that he'll be established as universal. Yeah, but
Oh,
right now
he'll
there's
start getting to that probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
Once they
Yeah.
do introduce him, I wouldn't be surprised if he's universal. Right now, there's nothing on him except lore, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. I can't prove that right
Like,
now because there's nothing on him, but yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah. You said since Shiba is confirmed 4D, I don't feel like it's crazy to think that the high end people could be in universal level.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot to mention Momoshiki's dimension was stated to be parallel to Naruto's universe. Parallel means equidistant in size. No, it doesn't. Parallel means that one dimension of a dimension has the same length, right? Parallel means the length is equivalent. There are other dimensions to a universe, such as width, height. There are other dimensions to it. Parallel simply means the length. Actually, that doesn't even prove the length. There are parallel lines that are not the same size, by the way. You could have a short line parallel to a longer line.
Matter of
Doesn't
fact,
mean
you
that
made
they're
a
equal in
video on
size.
that. Very
Yeah, I made a
slow on
video on
some
that
parts,
actually. If you
actually.
look up on Google,
Like,
parallel lines, you'll see pictures of lines that are not equal in size, or equal length. So not only is parallel a word to describe a unit-dimensional analysis, but the lines do not got to be equivalent in size to be parallel. That's incorrect,
and
mathematically
once again,
speaking.
what's the
So,
context behind these statements? Like, is this a form of exaggeration? Is this
uh,
or that? Like, what is all this? Like, because that's another thing that's also really important. Because if we're over here just misconstruing the context and it's clearly not trying to make it, like as we were saying before, to be exposed as a hyperliteral plane, it just doesn't work either way.
yeah,
You
there's
know?
no blatant scaling, and parallel does not. Again, the definition semantically does not mean equal in size. There are lines that are parallel; they're not equal in size. That's incorrect. But Shiba is too strong. Motherfucker
And
is
then
the wrong
again, like
verse. It's
Dragon Ball
true.
Z, like, are we seeing them have universal feats? Are we seeing them actually fucking do shit? No, we're not seeing any of that.
Yeah, it's
Like, I don't get it.
yeah. I've discussed the semantic definition of parallel before. Yeah. Shiba is too strong. He's in the wrong verse. Hey, you're right, man. I think these are people that are too strong already, like fucking Ida, using a global genjutsu on the whole world. Too
Yeah.
strong, man.
Like I said, we've seen definitive and plenty of planetary feats.
Yeah, plenty.
We've
Yeah.
seen plenty of that shit all day, every day. The games, you name it, etc. What's it called? But when we start talking about, fucking multi-galaxy level and all this other crazy or universal on a blah blah, like I just feel like there's isn't really nothing to suggest that it's at that point yet. There's
Yeah,
just
no.
really
There's
nothing.
not.
I'm
There's not enough
sorry.
blatant. It's
Like there's
a
plenty of animes that make it blatantly like if somebody wants to make that clear, they're going to do it. And Kishimoto wouldn't
yeah.
fuck around like that. That's
It's
stupid.
it's a theoretical consideration, but the falsifiability of it's pretty high. There's just not enough to make it
There's
a
not.
safe claim. It's very falsifiable, and
Possibility wise, there's not.
via Sagan standard, which is if you have an extraordinary claim that requires extraordinary evidence, there's certainly not extraordinary evidence for Momoshiki being universal or Kaguya being universal. So, but yeah,
I
folks,
guess
any
Rock
questions you
Lee's
may
universal
have?
too.
Yeah, any questions you may have, folks, feel free to ask. Do you think it's at least debatable upon interpretation? Yeah, it is
Oh, of
debatable.
course,
Yeah. It's not.
absolutely, yeah.
There's not a 0% chance that these individuals are universal. It's a theoretical consideration, but I think it's very,
Yeah.
very weak, though. A very weak one. So,
Yeah, you can definitely debate it all day, every
yeah.
day. If you're just good enough to debate something, you could obviously do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that in a debate sense, absolutely.
D-
But let's
yeah.
say you have like two high tiers, and I do believe this firmly, and one's advocating for the other, and the other's advocating that it is. The one that's advocating that it's not is more than likely going to take that because there's just not an abundance amount of evidence to
Yeah.
prove that notion.
It's like the
There's
equivalent
not.
of you're in a court of law and you have a lawyer with a plethora of
Yeah.
empirical evidence, and you have another lawyer that's the same skill level with very little. The one with the empirical evidence is going to win,
Yeah,
despite
no matter
their
what, it doesn't matter
yeah
how equal you are or better you are, they're
yeah.
just gonna win.
Despite despite the equivalence in skill level, it won't matter because one person has an abundance of empirical evidence, while the other has barely any, and less
But it's
valid
understandable. We'll
rational.
admit that. We're
Yeah.
not calling you guys idiots or
Oh no,
anything.
yeah, no,
Like it's
not at all.
completely reasonable, understandable. I just blatantly I disagree, and I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah, like for Dragon Ball, the case flips. It'd be hard to prove they're not universal now. Like they're
Exactly. It's the
shaking
opposite. Yeah.
microcosms. Yeah, it'd be harder to prove that they're not. Almost impossible because Goku barely discovering God keys, shaking the microcosm with Beerus. I mean, current Goku fucking would probably destroy the universe. So, but at this point, Shibai might as well be uni. Ada and Daemon only has a fraction of his DNA, and they already become like Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Shibai's universal, at all. So he's the god of the Otsutsuki, and these Otsutskis have been
It could
shown
probably
to.
even be greater than that. We just really
Yeah,
won't know. Who
he seems to
knows?
be like a concept of power, like not just an individual, but like a force of nature. So yeah, he's extremely
Like I'm
powerful.
like at the end of the day, out of everyone I've seen so far in Boruto, because I'm not finished yet. I'm like on episode 174 now.
Yeah,
But what's it called? I have not seen a single fucking character yet to show those qualities
yeah,
or
none at
some
all.
level that they're Galaxy plus level or Universal plus. I have
Yeah,
not seen shit, and
it's
I
just
think
hard.
Jay's way ahead of me in the manga, and you name it. And if he's still saying nah, like, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's not
No.
enough for anyone besides Shibai. There's nothing on him yet, so we can't say anything about him. I
And
do think he's
Naruto's
gonna
my
be.
favorite too, by the way. I'm biased for Naruto in a sense, right?
Yeah,
So like if I could even like see something that's definitely definitively or even indicating a high possibility, I'm gonna do that all day, every day, you know?
yeah, for
Like,
sure. Yeah,
Dragon Ball Z, like, you know what I mean, it's blatant clear, right? For Naruto, we haven't had anything yet. So I just
yeah.
can't
Not
can't
on
do
that
that. I'm not
scale.
gonna
That's
sit here and try to say now Naruto characters can beat Dragon Ball Super or something because of this, theoretical or speculation type of bullshit, you
yeah.
know?
It's the scale that you need to execute a feat on is much grander when you're talking about universal. Like when you have people like Vegeta constantly saying, "Yeah, we can't fight on this planet. We're gonna destroy it." Like it's very blatant how high these guys scale. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen in Naruto. You don't see that instance.
We haven't seen it.
It's just not the case. It's a theoretical consideration, yes, but it's a very falsifiable one currently. So, but yeah, folks, any questions you may have, and make sure for the guys that just came in, make sure to hit the like button. The more likes, the higher we get in the algorithm. It's greatly appreciated. The more, the better.
And the
Um,
main problem too, Jay, is because the ninja they're humans too. They have
yeah,
limitations as well. Like
they
yeah, they
definitely
have
do.
a certain alien component, which is AK chakra, right? But even with that, like you know what I mean, like they can't fucking like be able to breathe in space and shit. At least I don't think they can.
Yeah,
Like they still have certain human components, and there's plenty abundance amount of science also indicated with Naruto too. So like with all those limitations, etc., you name it, unless they can have something that can defy those limitations and allow them to go beyond that,
yeah,
there's just like there's that too.
yeah, exactly. Someone asked, "Do you guys like that Shiba is more a force of nature currently, or do you think Kishimoto will go a different route?" I think that my prediction currently is that Shibai will be another persona or sort of entity that's similar to the
Like Sage of
Sage's
Six
six pack.
Paths.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think he's
Yep.
gonna have that sort of role. I'd be surprised if you see him coming down to Earth and fucking sparring Boruto. I'd be very surprised if that happens. It just doesn't
Yeah.
seem like this concept of power
Uh,
coming down and sparring with people. I don't think that's gonna happen. I might be wrong. Maybe Kishimoto says, you know what, Shibai is a literal combatant that's gonna fucking go, toe to toe with Boruto or something. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think he's gonna be like the Sage of Six Paths, a force of nature that can do miraculous things, like during the war when the Sage of Six Paths gave Naruto and Sasuke Six Paths powers. Um, I think he's gonna have that kind of role. If I had to predict currently, he just has that similar lore to the Sage of Six Paths too. He just seems like this conceptual entity that transcends everybody. So that's what I think is gonna happen, but I could be wrong. So um,
uh,
I've heard some people say when you translate Shibai's name, it means acting or something like that. Do you think there's something weird going on with Shibai? What does that even mean? Let's see. I might actually Google translate that. What does Shibai mean?
Naruto can breathe in space, and Suzuki can. Yeah, I know the alien, Suzuki, they're aliens. I know that. Naruto, he's a little bit of a different exception if he's using the cubic cloak and everything, the nine tails, like that's could be more than the reason why. I'm just saying, like, if you got like base Naruto or whatever, he's just sitting on the moon as a normal dude, not using chocolate, blah blah, like they're fucked, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. They're definitely not human physiology. They're beyond that, but definitely not enough
yeah,
to conclude that they're universal. It's insane. So highly doubt that. Shibai in English is let's see, translates as play or dramatic performance. Oh, okay, I see where they're getting this from. Japanese theatrical performance, play or a dramatic performance. Yeah, he's gonna have a special role. Clearly, I do tend to think he's gonna be a conceptual entity rather than another Madara or something or Ishiki. So
unless Kishimoto decides to pull like a crazy okadoke, and then like instead of making it the same direction as Sage of Six Pass, and he actually like makes this man come along to like actually do shit
yeah,
instead. Like then,
that would be
which
wild. Yeah,
Which I'll be honest, that he might do that just to switch it up, right, and to catch us
He,
all completely off guard.
yeah,
But
like Boruto would
you
have
know,
to reach an insane amount of power to make it even make sense. So if Shibai is as
yeah,
powerful as they say, and Ida is just a fraction of what he is, I mean, this guy's he's probably soloing the whole verse without even lifting a finger. I mean,
yeah.
Boruto is by far way too inferior currently. Kawaki's too
Like
inferior.
I think what would happen if he does come into place as like the big bad, right? If that does happen,
Yeah,
then basically Boruto is gonna have to somehow, some way, get incorporated with whatever that shit you guys said it was called. What starts with S.
Shinjutsu. Yeah,
Um, yeah, like he's gonna have to do something with Shinjutsu and incorporate that with what he is as of now, and maybe evolve into something that will allow him to get into that realm. Kind of like Goku, where he went from Super Saiyan then to trying to learn now God Ki and shit.
yeah.
Right? That's the only way he was able to fuck in that
You'd have
realm.
to, yeah,
So
you have to
that's
reach
why
like this
uh,
sort of like evolutionary stage that's kind of similar to KCM Naruto, where he reaches new
yeah,
heights. Boruto's gonna have to have
exactly.
some, if he even wants to contend. I mean, even Daemon, I think it was the last chapter. Daemon said, "Hey, you should keep training so we could fight, so I could actually try." And Boruto literally said, "Dude, I'd have to train lifetimes to catch up to you." Like, and that's just Daemon, fucking toddler with a fraction of
That's
Shibai's
crazy.
power. He said, "That takes too long. I would have to fight. I'd have to train for several lifetimes to ever fight you at
He
full power."
says that.
Yeah, he literally says that. That's how
Wow.
inferior he is to fucking Daemon. Daemon's a fucking kid. It's fucking insane. Like these two, Daemon and Ida, are already like leagues, several leagues beyond Boruto and Kawaki currently. It's not even close.
That's
Now
crazy.
Shibai is full Shinjutsu. Like he is Shinjutsu itself. He created it. So I don't know how the fuck he'd have it. Right now, it would be nonsensical.
That
It'd have
means
to be a
even
concept.
Sasuke and
Yeah,
Naruto
nobody.
would get shitted on.
Yeah,
Wow.
everyone. Yeah, Ishiki would have to bow down to him. Everyone. He is the god of Otsutsuki. So he
Damn.
is Shinjutsu. Yeah, that guy probably is universal if I had to guess, but we'll have to find out about that.